Welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seats. Your hosts Vertek and Chibi Bree are back from their latest adventure.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another Golden Feather Tavern. So we are your hosts, Vertek and Chibi. Excuse me, pardon. And we discuss here Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Sorry, I'm a little bit scattered today. I apologize about that. So yeah, every week we invite you, the viewers, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint of your favorite beverage, and join the conversation with us. And today is the 5th of April, 2025, and we are on episode 234. We're on the 1 month countdown till phase 3. And the traveling bard joining us today is a fellow member of Nexus Guild. His name is Beej, you might know him as. His full government issued name is Beejimus Pranklin. At least that's what I'm calling him anyway. How are you today there, Beej?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
You don't have a Nexus command, by the way.
Yeah, I'm the pure Nexus. Oh, look at that.
I thought we did at one point. I think we didn't.
If you're watching this and you haven't joined Nexus, please reach out to me and Chibi. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
But today we're not just talking about Nexus. We're going to be talking about a lot of the topics that are circulating as we are on the last bit of the road to 1 month for phase 3. Fingers crossed, because as Steven has said multiple times, Alpha is like a train that just keeps going.
It's a moving train.
It's a moving train. And
you stand in the way, you get run over. I mean, wait, no, that's not the right analogy, is it?
I don't think that's where he was going with that. No.
Okay.
But we are going to put this out there. While we always sound and remain hopeful on our podcast, we are very much aware that setbacks happen, and we could see phase 3 at the beginning of May. A lot of us are anticipating phase 3 at the beginning of May, but they could find, for whatever reason, a need to push it back. And so I just want to put that out there as a reminder ahead of time, that, you know, this is open development, and the need to push things back to address bigger issues can always arise at any point in time, whether or not they plan for it. So with that, we're going to talk about a lot of topics from the Reddit primarily today. But before that, let's chat with Beej a little bit and introduce you to Beej. Beej has been a part of our guild for how long now?
Ooh, almost a year now. I think it's been almost 9 months total, and been heavy into the PvP side of things. Took sort of partial officership early on in phase 1 to help out, and then sort of now I'm, you know, with you right and left hand of Nexus at this point is what we do. So that's essentially it. We're pretty chill, and I love playing the game and love testing this thing. It's just, you know, really looking forward to talking about some of these topics. Yeah.
Same.
Sweet.
So because you're familiar to me, I'm struggling because I usually have the like, so why Ashes? But like, I guess in that case I can at least ask you, but you've joined Nexus, so I know what guild you're a part of.
Yeah.
But yeah, what drew you to Ashes?
So actually, funny enough, I was following Ashes from forever ago, before even the Kickstarter, and like when they had all their like pre-stuff, everything, and I loved it. I wanted to be a part of it, but I didn't know the Kickstarter had started. Like I didn't have them like saved on socials or anything like that to like check on those things, and so I missed the Kickstarter by maybe a week. And I was so depressed about that. I even like contacted Steven and some of the other people to see if I could like pay a bunch of money to just get me in, let me have this. And then he said, that's when he told me, but they were going to do some type of like thing that was going to let us back in. So I've been following it for a very long time. I've loved the community so far. I've loved the gameplay. I think Steven himself and the company have done a great job so far of just listening to, you know, us in general and making changes as needed. So it's been an awesome experience. That's what drew me to Ashes. It's just the interactions, you know, with the everyday people and of course the developers.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple questions for you on that. So, one thing that I've heard about rumbling through the community is, you know, the lack of interaction. So, they showed, I'm not like trying to paint Ashes in a bad light at all with this. This is just from the way that I'm hearing people explain it. So, because they've shown us these pocket dungeons that are reliant on the predicate of the nodes hitting level 3, but we've not actually seen them naturally open as a result of them hit level 3. Does that affect how you view the current way that the game is, or is that one of those like that doesn't really matter that much? They're still getting content in. I'm sure they'll be testing here soon what that looks like naturally occurring.
Yeah. On a personal level, you know, I personally enjoy them just, you know, putting content out, whether it's superficial content, kind of like what you're talking about, where it's just sort of there's something there, but there's really no depth to it. It feels like there's no quests that lead up to it. There's no character building that causes it to spawn. I still love it. I know that there will be depth, and I have to trust in that process and understand that these guys are going to be, you know, working tirelessly behind the scenes. I mean, heck, I don't think anybody expected them to even put these tropics and the naval update out this quickly. So for it to drop this quickly was almost a treat. You know, this is something we were probably thinking we were getting halfway through this month.
Right.
So, you know, so I feel like, yes, there are some more superficial updates that we've gotten here, but I think like as far as content's concerned, I mean, we will get the content we want coming at some point here soon, I'm sure. And you know, I just got to trust the process and keep testing and helping out as best I can.
Yeah. And, you know, that really lends itself to the fact that there are some things that were on, I believe, the phase 3 docket that ended up being released earlier. And I think that's really awesome, personally. I think there's a post or a message I saw somewhere where somebody was like, but Steven had said XYZ was coming in February, and that's not even out yet, but yet we have stuff that's not slated until phase 3. And I don't know, I think they're just kind of like moving things around to match what is currently fitting. I don't know. What are you thinking, Vertec?
Sorry, I'm getting the Nexus command set up one more time.
It's all good. I had a feeling.
We can talk between us. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
I think you're right. They are sort of doing that. Gosh, I lost my train of thought there. The next thing. Can you rephrase the question for me? I'm sorry.
Basically, how do you view the fact that it's kind of like, rather than a linear path, it's like building blocks that they're adjusting and moving around to plug in and adding content a little earlier than they said that they're going to, and pushing other content back from what they said would be available earlier.
Yeah, at least I've had a discussion with this in the guild a few times before recently, and I mean, at least in my opinion of this moment is because I, you know, without having obviously behind the scenes knowledge, that usually they have these crews that are working on this stuff, like that may be working on stuff that's, you know, 3-4 months out, and they get done faster than they thought, or they get sort of, you know, some stuff together that they can go ahead and push out earlier than they thought they would have to be able to do so. And you know, kind of in this instance, I think that's probably what happened is even though we thought that they were all just working on the next fixing the desert and doing this and that they were actually working on, they had people working on these tropics updates and these dungeons and the naval systems, things like that, which, I mean, obviously we know there's going to need to be some refinement on all of that.
Right.
But what they have done and what they have put out has been pretty, you know, spectacular, considering that they are a smaller company, you know, as far as, you know, the video game industry is concerned.
Yeah, that's going to be a point that we're going to talk about in the future, coming up. And for the folks watching, can you talk a little bit about the lovely pupper that we see on screen?
Yes, I can. That is Cooper. He is my first dog. He is amazing. He's a boxer and an absolute lover. If you haven't seen my Discord picture, or if you guys aren't in Lineth Discord or anything like that, you haven't seen me. I'm the moderator there. Just click on my thing. There's another picture of him there as well. He is my favorite little fur baby, and he's got a bit of a character in him. So he's about 9 years old now. He's getting old, but we love him to death. He's been around since basically the beginning. So it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome. We love companions here, especially Basil and I. Basil and I both really love Pyre and everything like that. So love a good companion.
Yes. I'm a big pet guy. That's why I'm so looking forward to Summoner and things like that. Getting the ability to have a bunch of summons and things like that just sounds interesting to me.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Just a heads up, those of you on YouTube, just ignore. I'm gonna remove it. Just ignore the top link there. At least it was throwing a alert
it's gotta
on
be
our side.
updated.
So yeah,
It was one that was created before, and it was working fine before, but right now it needs an update.
Yeah. There's some polishing that we're gonna have to do at the tavern, but I'm not quite ready to share what that is yet. Just know that we're gonna be undergoing some nice polish ahead of phase 3, if we can help it that fast. Vertex, do you have any questions for Beej?
Oh, I got all the questions. So I noticed you're around, out and about across a bunch of servers. What's how do you do it? What I gotta say, because I know that we're out and about across a lot of servers, but you're more active than we are, even combined.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I'm all over the place. I mean, a lot of people in the community have met me and know me, played with me. So I mean, I feel like I'm somewhat well respected in that aspect. So I just I stay behind the scenes. I don't really like put myself out there a ton, but a lot of people talk to me via just Lineth Discord, Castus original Discord when I was moderating that thing. And then basically, through the ambassador role with Nexus, I reach out, and plus, being on Lineth and knowing a lot of the people, like, some of the higher ups there, they know other people. I talk with them, they talk with their friends, and it's just, able to kind of network and talk through that and just get to know everybody, so it's been great to get to know the people in this community. Because like I said, I come from a lot of other communities. I mean, I come from WoW, came from EverQuest, things like that before, and typically the community is what builds the game the most. Being able to have fun with those people, enjoy them. Beyonce. Oh, hilarious, Basil.
Kind of fantastic.
Yeah. So basically, love hanging out with the people here, and honestly, I can't say anything bad about much of the community, really. It's been kind of open arms since day one.
Yeah,
and, I'm pretty sure you need to go through an official name change now. Beejimus is no longer accurate. It's Beyonce Franklin.
Beyonce will be my next character in honor of Basil. It'll be my summoner name.
I like it.
Alrighty. Well, we could sit here and ask you questions about what you do and where you do it and all that stuff for days, but I say we get into the Ashes stuff.
I think a lot of people have a lot of questions or a lot of curiosities on our thoughts on things. So I want to just kind of start off with this kind of general vibe, the current state of Ashes, if you will. Now, I'm sure if you guys go over to the Vira server, you will see it's pretty poppin' over there. They always had a higher, I think, population than Lineth did. But that being said, even with Rogue and Sieges and all of the goodness that has arrived, which I believe someone already found a relic from Tumok, But even with all of that, there was noticeable lack of people coming to Flood back in to test ashes or just being in the game for the new items, etc. I know that Nexus and Lyneth has definitely felt this, and we've also felt the resurgence of that opening weekend with Rogue. How has it felt since then? And do you think it's something that people should be worried about?
Ooh, seems like a loaded question there. Vertec, do you want to start, or you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay.
Guess first.
There's a lot to unpack with this. Yeah, I would say the Rogue was amazing. I mean, we got to test it on PTR. Chibi, Vertec, and I, and a bunch of our other Nexus members were able to participate in that, and that was really fun. And we really, we knew kind of going in that was going to be the biggest draw for people to come back. But I kind of understood, from the get-go that, sieges were going to be fun, but they just were going to be sort of a fleeting thing. I love them. I think they're amazing. There's a lot of content to be had there, especially repeatable content. Mm-hmm. It's just it's one of those situations, like you said, there needs to be more player base. I think more of a friction element of hatred maybe between certain quick guilds or certain cities that allows for more of a natural feel to the war and combat systems.
Yeah,
I mean, I still think that these were pretty well done. We extensively tested them. So, I mean, I know there was a hiccup on Vyra. Was it 2 to 3 days afterwards? That we know where somebody was able to teleport under the ground and get the flag, which, that hurts obviously, but it's good that they found it now and it's been taken care of and addressed on that front.
Yeah.
That's about all. I mean, on that for right now. I just gotta, there's just so much other stuff, stepping away wise, people when they're saying, oh, there's, the content's drawing us in, we're coming, we're going, I get it. There's going to be a natural progression towards burning out, towards finding, sort of some time to talk to your buddies and say, hey, I played a bunch. I've been playing since phase 1, or I've been playing since pre-alpha, and I'm a little burnt out. I need some time. And I've always been of the impression of, hey, let's, it's a game. We should all have fun with it. We should be playing it for, that purpose, not for necessarily a job. So it should be something that you do as HR, how you doing, bud? So it should be something that you guys do as sort of a fun and, interesting hobby, not necessarily be forced to test. So
right.
Stepping away should be on the table if you want to step away for a little bit and come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, by the way, Jar. Cheers to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the sub. Much appreciated, friend.
I did a nonverbal cheer.
Mm-hmm. So did I. I like to do the verbal recognition when we can, though.
Of course.
So yeah, people stepping away from AOC, totally understandable for many reasons. Coming back to phase 3, or be at the beginning or the middle or the end. And some of the reasons on that Reddit post there that were listed for stepping away, I feel them too, to be honest. We're kind of sticking with it and pushing through. Mainly the reason for me is I'm just not bored of it yet. I'm not. I mean, I feel all of these reasons except for maybe 1 or 2, to be honest. Yeah, two of them I don't really feel. But the overemphasis on player conflict, I mean, that's mentioned with literally every feature they're trying to add into the game. They always say, it creates opportunities for soft friction. It creates opportunities for soft friction. It creates everything is intended to create opportunities for soft friction. So everything is based on player conflict. Therefore, to me, it feels like everything is PvP, and some things can be PvE until somebody else comes along, and then it's PvP. Some people say that's the definition of PvX, but there's not really anything out there that's going to be just for the PvE folks to enjoy outside of the things that are going to be coming out, like, the 20% of dungeons and stuff that are going to be instanced, but we have yet to see exactly how those are going to play out. Open world dungeons feel bad. I would agree on that. They feel really cool just for when they're new. But after that, there's not much strategy to the bosses that you're fighting in there. There's not much.
It feels like filter content for places to go to fight things, so that
it's
you're
stuff
not
put in there to say
overcrowding.
that there is PvE, is how it feels.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it feels
this is a
like
PvP
drawn.
game, but also we put some stuff in here for the PvE crowd. It's kind of how it feels. And I think I've been saying that for a while, like years. Maybe how long we've been doing this? Since 2018, so going on 7 years. I think I've been saying that for about 5 or 6 years. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of feel that when crafting is overly complex and restrictive, I don't
agree with
feel
that.
that one. I mean, I kind of feel it, but I've heard great things about the Star Wars Galaxies crafting system, and that's apparently what they're using as inspiration. And what they're aiming towards is that kind of flow. And if all the crafting people loved it and they were bananas about it, then I'm kind of remaining optimistic that that's going to turn around. But yeah, currently it's kind of bananas. But at the same time, I'd rather it be overly complex and difficult to work with, as far as you need to rely on other players, than be like a World of Warcraft crafting system where it's like, you have to do it to maintain an edge to get the little perk at the end, but after that, you basically don't use your crafting unless you're an alchemist making potions.
And
like,
if
that's
I
about
can
it.
add in, I really love the deconstruction system that they just added in with the most recent patch too.
Yeah,
It's a good way to feel like you can not only recoup some of the items that you've been making, especially if my tailors are out there making as many shoes as I have. I don't know who I gave shoes to recently. I think it was Sos. And he was like, what are you doing with all of these shoes? I was like, I don't want to talk about it. But the deconstruction kits, by the way, if anybody is curious on those, it works based on your certification level. So your novice and everything, anything level 0 gear wise, you can deconstruct to get some materials out of it. From there, you have to have apprentice or journeyman, etc., to be able to get those things to be deconstructed for level 10, level 20, etc. gear. So I don't know. I really liked it, and I'm really curious. I really want to make some higher quality versions of the deconstruction kit. That's the thing that I've been trying to test as of late and see if I get more, because it's an RNG. It tells you what you're going to get back, but you get back a random like out of that. But I did notice if it says 4 of something, like 4 copper, you always get 4 copper. It's not up to 4 copper. It is 4 copper. And Nair, to answer your question, I've yet to get a recipe from it, but I've also not deconstructed something I don't know. But it didn't drop a recipe either. So things that I'm still testing.
I want to actually circle back and ask you a question about that. But just to talk about like the last couple things on that post there, like not solo or small group friendly. I also feel that, like, if I have a friend that joins in to the game and we don't have a lot of people that want to start and level all over again, just to help them, introduce them to the game. Like, I'm hoping that mentor system comes in and does wonders, and I can take my currently max level character, because I have all my character slots full. Maybe I can even take a level 20 character down and mentor somebody from level 1.
Right.
And yeah, hopefully like small group friendly, because somebody's going to jump in here. Like Chibi, you and I would jump in here down the line on our own without a guild, without anybody. If we jump into the game, we just discover it and we just walk in. It'd be you and me against the world, basically, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Like there has to be something there for like an introduction to a small number of people and allow it to grow.
That's one of the things that I hear a lot is, where can I level for this? Where can I go to get that? Like, what's the best place for this level? And we don't really have answers for people, because it's really dependent on the groups that you can find. I find a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, like early on in the phase, I had a nice little leveling guide. You guys remember that? that helped a lot of people like kind of find those locations because they were set up through basically. I mean, we only had it for our guild. Sorry, everybody who's wondering where the hell this guide is. Yeah, it was guild. It was guild specific. Yeah, I usually run a leveling guide every time because I'm usually the first person to level 25 on each server. But yeah, essentially I broke down like places you could level, what levels and whatnot, and pretty much you could take that guide and throw it into a fire right now because everything's changed so much. But I don't necessarily agree fully that solo and group friendly is not possible. I just think you are right to the aspect of, yes, majority of these places require you to have 6 to 8 players to consistently compete, especially if you're in a PvX situation with the friction. You're stuck fighting this group and there's no way you're going to beat them if they've got 8 and you've got 3. It's just
right.
They're just
gonna beat you out easily. Take your mobs.
I mean, they don't even have to fight you. They could just take your mobs and like you said, just take everything from you basically. But
anytime another group larger than yours rolls through and they want those quest-based creatures, they're going to get them, and you're just stuck holding the bag. Which, I mean, that could apply to any game out there, right? But
a lot of games. I mean, look at World of Warcraft old school, where you fought for world bosses. I mean, I was on a server with a guild that we were so crazy, we would swap to our alliance-led tunes and kill all the horde people off of the bosses so that we could log back onto our hordes and kill the boss. I mean, there's going to be some of that where you're going to have these super sweaty people that are willing to do that kind of stuff, and they're going to be rolling around with 10 plus to make sure that they always get what they want out of that, especially early in a phase, things like that. You're gonna be living with a lot of that.
With me, as long as there's something there for solo play and small group for every level group to be able to do, or every level tier, just so that when I log on and I just want to be in Ashes. I don't really feel social today. I don't really feel like gathering a group, or I can't find a group, so I'm just gonna do this one thing or this other thing that is solo friendly just for the next 2 hours, and then I'm logging off.
Yeah, exactly. That is something Ashes is going to have to do. Like Steven and them are going to have to find a way to make that more of an option. I mean, we know we have Erwin in our guild, and he's solo levels pretty much every time. So I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just not friendly. Is the key term I was keying on? Like, it's possible you can do it, but it's not friendly to that approach. At least not yet. I know they said they're going to be putting stuff in that is, and they're going to make sure it can be friendly, at least to a small degree, and I'm okay with to a small degree. It's an MMO, you should interact with other people, but some days you just need something else to do on your own.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite days is the days where I'm spending just solo grinding, like crafting gear and stuff like that, where I don't have to worry about anything else except for when somebody screams at me that they're getting attacked by somebody across the map and I have to go save them.
Yes. So 5 there is that they feel like very little has changed, and I kind of want to touch on that in a second, but then there's an undisclosed number 6 in the comments, which is the feeling of lack of communication, and it's just, there's been a lot of people that feel like Intrepid hasn't communicated well enough or often enough for things. But I don't know. For me, I can't really complain, but that's also because Vertec and I have been basically following this since the beginning, from 2017. So if you can imagine, there's the wave of new people coming in, and they're all very excited to test, and they're all very anticipatory of updates and information. And Vertec and I have just been here, so we're just kind of along for the ride. We're like 2 ships just bouncing in the water, just hanging in there. Just, honestly, I feel like they've communicated a decent amount, in my opinion. Are there things where there's a miscommunication, or maybe the communication could have been a little bit stronger? Yes. However, this is a big, strong point. So the reason why people think that there's a lack of communication, and hello, Fupo, I see you, is the swap from UE4 to UE5. This is coming from Talent. This is a comment on that Reddit post. And for those of you watching YouTube later, this will all be in the description. But Talent said that they got a quote from an ex-employee last month, but the game got restarted fully from scratch about 3 years ago. And this is the quote. My NDA prevents me from revealing any specifics, but what I can say is that full production on Ashes started at the beginning of 2021. I'm not saying that switching over to Unreal Engine 5 coincided with nearly starting over from scratch, but quote unquote aliens. Prior to that was scratch, basically prototyped in R&D. The actual current and in-dev game version of Ashes of Creation has been going on for about 3 years. I can confirm that what the dev team has been able to pull off in 3 years is really impressive. Some of the most crazy get it done people I've ever worked with. So that's from an ex-game dev. Not gonna lie, haven't been paying attention. Did Rogue become playable? Yes. I think that's what Jamie was streaming the other day, but I might be wrong. Yes. So I saw your question to us. I'm not ignoring you. We were just getting through this main topics. So, but that being said, Rogue is playable now. Siege is playable now. There are relics in the game, and there is deconstruction in the game, like item deconstruction. And all of that just went live last weekend. And that being said, how do you guys feel? Because Vertec and I have at least been telling people, like this game has been in development since 2017. Obviously, there's been some setbacks. I think around 2019, there was the great drought where they were dealing with the server issues and they had to work out server problems. So there wasn't a whole lot to talk about with us at that point, which is the whole point of APOC. And then after Alpha 1, which I think was 2020, somewhere in there.
Yep.
So then they chose to move over to UE5 from 4. And primarily this was big because it allowed them to have multiple people working in a certain part of the game at the same time. Whereas UE4, one person at a time had to log in and log out. And if that person was logged into this particular node of UE4, working on this part of Ashes, and somebody else needed it, but let's say that person was sick or went on vacation, it essentially caused them to not be able to work on that part or find some way to log out that person. So this allows that to kind of go a lot faster. And we're seeing that. We got Desert in about a month, the Tropics in about a month. They're now announcing by the end of this month is the Jundark area. So we're seeing a progressive speed at which they're building things and working through things. But I think this is also what Steven was hinting at with some of the items with the Lazy Peon interview, where he was saying that, we're needing to rework some of these tools. It's not really working the same way. We decided to scrap some stuff because it's not in a place we're ready for it yet, etc. And I think that with the knowledge that what we're seeing in Alpha 2 has effectively been in development for 3 years because they had to kind of start over, that's pretty impressive in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's my professional line of business, because I own construction companies, and I'm just used to delays. I'm used to things taking a lot longer than people think they're going to take. So maybe I have more patience towards these things, but same. I think if people, I know you two are in that sort of field as well, where you have to wait on things, or things aren't going to just move so quickly that people are so used to this. Load up a game, it's pretty much finished. They're doing updates or they're working on expansions, and right. Currently we are nowhere near that. This is a pure in terms of baby standpoint, this is like a 2-year-old getting to toddler stage. It hasn't even gotten close to being able to formulate sentences and do its own things for itself. So, You got to be
Yeah.
patient with it. You got to give it some time. But I guarantee you, this team is moving in the right direction. They're making the right moves. They're doing the right things. And if you trust in the process, you'll enjoy the eventual outcome.
Yeah, like the company I work for is construction and systems integration for government client mainly. It's not 100% of our client base, but most of it. And yeah, we've had some projects that would be ready to go. You know, all we got to do is get the go, and it'll take a good year or two before they go from ready to go to go.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So it's hey, yeah, we'll put it on the back burner, let it just simmer, I guess. We'll come back to it someday.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how that's how the world works. You know, it's just stuff is a little slower moving than some people would like, but you know, it's just part of being patient.
Yeah, and I was gonna say a good point or a good example of this is when Steven is saying people like Bucky. He did Ashes. He did.
I don't know what
Someone's
you mean.
in trouble.
Sorry,
But,
Chibi will reprimand me later, I'm sure.
A good point of this is, you know, Bucky working on the lower development environments for working on the TTK thing, right? And for those of you that might be like lower development environment, what the heck does that mean? It depends on your style of development, but typically in dev terms, you have a box here that represents the live product. In this case, that's the actual live Alpha 2 server that everybody has access to. Then you have another box that is for QA testing. But in this case, I think PTR falls between these two, where there's an internal PTR QA phase that then goes to PTR, that then goes to the live. And then you have your development branches, which is what Fupo's talking about. And one of them could be a branch that is specifically for testing the TTK stuff. That way it's being tested in isolation from everything else. So if anything ends up breaking, it's only breaking on that branch and nothing else that's being worked on. So you could have a instance of a branch of Ashes where TTK is being worked on, but you could also have another instance of Ashes where enchanting, well, I guess that's part of TTK, if you will. The tank is getting worked on. There we go. And then you have another instance of Ashes where the Jundark is being built, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different instances. And then you have your main master branch, which is the one that's like the one that has all of the core data. So it's getting iterated upon each time. So once they're finally done, let's say with the tropics, and they're ready to test the nodes and naval stuff, that gets sent to QA. That gets kind of pulled into the QA environment, and then they start testing that, and then they go back and they say, hey, this is broken, we need to fix this, and then back and forth until they're okay with it. And then it goes into PTR, and then we get to test it for the first time. And then we're like, cool, it doesn't seem like it's breaking anything, let's send it live. And so, yes, I think that, yes, there's a lot of branches and stuff, but eventually they prune themselves, Vertec, as you finish what you're working on and merge it into the main branch. But that is just one perspective of game development that I can't really speak to 100%.
So the tree has looping branches that go out and then they connect right back in, like little handles on the tree the whole way up, so you can climb it easy.
You're ridiculous.
Okay.
But yes, that's how it works at my job, at least, where we have our main branch for like a website, and then I have different branches for different features that I'm working on, different web pages that I want to add in, but I want to test privately before bringing it live. So I'm just applying my developer knowledge to gaming, and I did get to test, or I did try to become a game developer when I was, I mean, I've always been this height, but like when I was younger is what I'm getting at. But,
we're two opposite ends of the spectrum. You're there. I'm way up there. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I was doing this for like younger, but to be honest, when I got into college, I've just been this height. So The point still stands.
Shorty.
I was
Shorty.
yeah, and then you got me. He was like 6'4" by the time he was in middle school. So
Yeah, I quit growing when I was 11.
yeah.
But all of that is to say, what we see is not exactly what they see. And a lot of the times, I think this is why it always makes me a little silly, like giggly, when Steven's like, oh, that's already in, because he's seeing all these other future things that he's not really able to keep track of what's currently live at the moment.
Yeah.
I am not 11. Get out of here.
My goodness. The size of a. When did you say you stopped growing? Like 16 or 17? You just stopped? Didn't get any higher?
Me?
Yeah.
Literally 11.
Oh, literally 11? Oh my gosh.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I was having.
I don't even know what that feels like.
Yeah, no. I was growing normally like the rest of my peers, and then at 11 I just stopped, and that's why I'm Chibi Bree. Because I'm short. But yeah, now it's fun because I get to ask 13-year-olds to help me get stuff off the top shelf.
You still grow. Yeah, I gotta look for the chibi stretcher.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Anyway, bring it back
We'll
to
get one of those machines where you can like hang from the boots from the ceiling, and we'll have you sleep on that thing like a bat at nights.
bring it back on topic. I can grow when I'm a pirate. Thank you very much.
There we are.
So with all of this, with all of the different things that we've been able to test, there comes a time where sometimes you need a fresh start. And there's a debate, I guess. Somebody is opening the door for a debate on Reddit on whether or not we have a wipe for phase 3. And this kind of coincides with another post that I will also add out there. And this one's going to look a little weird because I grabbed it from Steven's answering perspective. But wiping has been a topic that has been going on since, I want to say, at least a month ago. You know, will Ashes wipe for like before phase 3 or during phase 3, at the beginning of phase 3? What's happening? And a lot of us are just, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But Steven answered this person, Drogul, who effectively is saying, you know, to live, the game needs a wipe, or at least an item wipe. And this, I think, oh my gosh, this makes me think of, you know, like when you get so much data, but you don't know how the beginning of things work. So for example, on Lineth, I don't know about anybody else's server, can't speak to anybody else's server. Steven had to manually upgrade our server, or our nodes, to level 3 for us because I think they were broken and they weren't upgrading or something. And hey Warrior, welcome in. So at what point is it helpful to go back and do a wipe? And Steven says in the second link I shared, as we progress in phase 2, this data helps us with balance, feature prioritization, loop iteration, and more. While this period may be a bit painful, it is important to remember that we are watching and making changes to address issues the testing audience is experiencing. At this stage, it is more beneficial for us to allow the current state of phase 2 rather than wipe. As we approach phase 3, we will try to have addressed most of these pain points so that a wipe will be beneficial in creating new data. And that was approximately a month ago. It was 27 days ago that he shared that information. What do you guys think wiping? And it sounds like, to me, I'm extrapolating from this, that he is anticipating a wipe for phase 3, if not shortly after phase 3. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, as much as this has been discussed for months, I've even actually, funny, I've heard about this since late January, early February. People were asking me this question, trying to get an idea of what I thought on the matter. So my personal opinion on the basic emphasis of this is there going to be a wipe? Yes, 100%. There has to be a wipe at some point. Now, is it going to be early in, is it going to be right when phase 3 hits, or like you said, are they going to push it back, phase 3 back a little bit, and then wipe it at that point? They'll start phase 3 and wipe at the same time. I think that's got to be the play. Like from a standpoint of bringing people back to the game, from a standpoint of having newer content to consume, even if it's just the same content but with your new character. I think it's just important for the game's health and testing purposes that we, emphasize a wipe. Now, as far as everything's concerned, I think even like on the first link you sent, let me go back to that again. Lloyd, who's posted under that, made a very good point in this. There's a lot of stuff I think that needs to be addressed and fixed before they actually do a wipe, like freeholds. We talked about this, Chibi, you and I, and have talked about this before. Like, y'all really want to own a freehold? I want to own a freehold. I don't really want to spend the money on a freehold right now because there's just nothing I can do with it, really. Right. Instead of look at it. So it's like I want to be able to feel like there's some type of substance there once I actually, spend the money, spend the time and effort to get that done. There's a bunch of other, with Power TTK. I mean, they've already talked about it a little bit. Steven's gone into how much he wants to change on that. And I think, some of the basic stuff we saw in the PTR seemed helpful. I still think there needs to be a lot of TTK changes. As a PvPer, basically the PvP lead of Nexus right now, I am not very happy that people die in like 3 seconds. And I'm a mage, so I usually kill people in 3 seconds. But it's just not fun for me, even when I'm just like murdering somebody without really trying. I want a little more skill. I want a little more tactics involved. I want to be able to feel like I achieved a victory versus like, oh, I just farmed gear faster than this guy, so I win.
People die in 3 seconds, and and I don't like that. And I'm a tank, so I don't like it, especially because I can't kill people in 3 seconds. Yeah, so I can't even ride that wave.
Can't even imagine how unfun it would feel to be in the PvP situations as a tank or something that can't really respond to things like that.
Yeah, I mean, as a cleric, I can kind of, because I can break out of a CC a little bit, but a cleric going like in solo, not that it's ever meant, you're not meant to do 1v like 3 or 4s really as a cleric, but the amount of time it takes for me to get locked down in place and then deleted is just like less than a second, especially if a couple people know what they're doing, or if one person knows what they're doing and they catch you off guard.
If only Flash Heal worked while stunned. Womp womp.
Yes, and that's a whole
It
other...
works while moving, works while casting, but just not while stunned. You're incapacitated.
But overall, do you guys think there should be a wipe as well? Like you, Chibi, and Vertec?
I am all for having fresh start servers and let these ones continue on. At least to a degree, I'm all for that. So I'm mostly for that. And the reason I say that is because the fresh start servers will give people a chance to start off with literally a fresh start. The new people coming in will be able to start on a server where it's not all jacked up and crazy like the current ones are. So they'll have a good starting experience, and they'll be able to join in when a server first kicks off. But the ones that are currently going, the people that stay there will be able to will continue as they are, in case there's some people that are just they're all about just continuing. They're probably all the ones that already did all of the get every level 10 thing legendary and get them enchanted to plus 73 or whatever it is that they hit. Saw people talking about plus 18s. I don't even know if that's a thing, but
that's crazy,
because I haven't gotten above 6 myself.
So I have personally seen somebody get to plus 12, but that's about it for me.
That's bananas.
And that's
I think the useful part
there's definitely a point of no return where it's like your stats are so high it doesn't really matter if you go higher at certain points.
Yeah. But like the one thing that I think it might be helpful for Intrepid to keep those servers up for is testing how they can corral something back into a desired state from an undesirable state without a wipe.
Plus 20 is max ashes.
Oof.
Technically. But it gets much, much harder the higher you go, and you have to be really lucky that once you get past like basically 8, you have
Spend
to be
a lot of
lucky.
money on it.
Crazy.
Jeepers.
Yeah. And
But,
the chance of deleting the item if you fail.
Yeah, and that starts early on, like level 9.
Yeah. So.
But that's
Plus 9,
the
I should say level 9.
that's the one thing I would hinge my I'd be all about fresh start servers and keeping the current ones going is if Intrepid would find it useful to try to corral it, do what they can to try to manipulate it back into a reasonable or expected or desired state from whatever it is now. And just so they can get practice of not wiping like, you know, a live server that got out of control. But again, that's only if they find that valuable. If they don't, then yeah, fresh start servers all the way. Like absolutely, because that's going to give a good idea on how it's going to look and feel when launch comes around. And I think they're going to need as much practice with that as guilds are to establish their base of power, right?
Yeah. I mean, we got to see. I mean, if you remember phase 2 when it kicked off, we had those node issues, remember, where nodes weren't leveling up. Like, we got to see if they fix that for phase 3 when they wipe. We got to see if the guild progression works correctly, because they said they wanted to be guilds also tied to doing quests, doing other things, not just the commodity crates. They're wanting
make sure all the predicates trigger correctly.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure the nodes are leveling correctly. I know they're planning on adding nodes to the tropics and the desert, possibly even 2 more to the desert. So I mean, they got to see if those are working right. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of quality testing probably involved before they just release up phase 3. But honestly, it'll be exciting. I think it'll be fun to basically play in this sandbox again and and everybody be basically at the same level, you know, and hopefully they fix the TTK so, you know, playing a tank or playing something else doesn't feel as bad.
Right.
You know, so it's going to be fun. I just think, like you said, there's a lot that needs to be addressed before they do something like that. But yeah, wipe is almost 100%. It would 100% has my vote.
So for me, while I do think that there's things that need to get addressed before they wipe, here's my problem with them not wiping. I do agree that they need to understand how to take something that needs adjustment and then fine-tune or baseline it without wiping. However, I feel like that would be a better act or cause for PTR, perhaps, as a test. You know, you have people on PTR, you get new people added into PTR, you gotta like baseline it back instead of wiping every single time. This is just a example. But if you don't wipe and you do a fresh start server alone on the live, what I foresee happening is very little people sticking with the current servers that we have. Let's say Resna opens up as a fresh start server. I see a lot of people flocking to Resna for that fresh start and leaving Lineth and leaving Vyra as ghost servers, which would have probably been effectively better off just being wiped in the first place at that point, because then you don't have a player base on those servers. You have all the player base moving over to a fresh start server because they're ready for like a wipe, essentially. I could be absolutely wrong in my suggestion of that, or my thought process on that.
I don't think you are. I think you're right.
But
Yeah.
That's my concern, is if they just do a fresh start and they don't do a full wipe. You may as well have just done a full wipe at that point. But it is important because once we get to live game, when problems like this happen, you know, look at World of Warcraft, right? They put out these sweeping changes to their classes. And I compare it to World of Warcraft a lot because that's the one that I've spent the most time in as an MMO gamer. I've played a little bit of Guild Wars, played a little bit of a few others like Final Fantasy, but World of Warcraft I know like the back of my hand comparatively. But when they make these large changes to like Holy Priest and how the Shadow Priest works, etc., they can't just wipe everybody. You have to continue on forward with the progress everybody's already made. And if with Ashes, this is even more paramount because our decisions are affecting the server, not a static world. So, I mean, yeah, they're gonna need to figure that out eventually, I think.
Yeah, there was I mean, for now, wiping has to happen. You're right, 100% on that. Is the population of that other server cannot sustain itself if a new server starts. Because I mean, I've talked to pretty much every guild on Lyneth to ask, you know, who's going to go, and I think maybe one or two of them have said they're not leaving right away, or they're thinking about it really.
Right.
It's so many people are just planning on moving to the fresh start that you'll just be dead. And I think Ashes just brought it up too. Is I don't know if node decay is really a thing yet, Ashes, but yeah, if they were to put node decay in, I don't know how you would keep your nodes working. You know, keep your stations running if you only got 50, 60 people left on the whole server.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They need constant activity, but that's also something I was thinking about the other day when it comes to node decay. Is, let's say there's a metropolis, right? And it's been said before and suggested before, like if your mayor sucks or they does something you don't like, just move to a different node. But if they're being fed experience from all of the vassal nodes below it, what if all those ones are the popular ones that people leave the metropolis to go to? Wouldn't that feed it enough, like tax money and experience to just keep it alive anyway? And so leaving would almost not really even bring that node down, depending on how they do their math anyway.
Yeah.
A shifting vassal system would be interesting too, where you could, like you said, if people did leave the node and went to a different node, then that node would no longer be the metropolis because everybody's moved out. So that'd be some thoughts for possible future stuff. Steven, if you're listening. So yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, the debate on wiping is vast. I mean, we could cover a lot of other topics on this too, even that I'd love to see happen, but I think we're all in agreement. It needs to wipe, but it needs to wipe at the right time, and hopefully after most of the stuff has been addressed.
Yeah. Pardon me. I'm grabbing some events that I wanted to share. There we go. But yeah, I think that, I mean, another frustration point that I've heard, aside from, wiping or like the content that we're getting, some people, this is a smaller minority that I'm hearing it from, have been frustrated with the lack of the community management team kind of engaging and creating community events. But I don't know. I feel like much like the basis of Ashes and the way that they are building the storyline to be our choice, I feel like the community team might be focusing on running the community while letting us kind of make our own events. And we've seen this with the numerous PvP events that have been happening over on Vyra. I think we had one happen on Lyneth. Is that correct, Beej?
Yeah, we've had one happen on Lyneth. We've had 2 or 3 try to get off the ground. And just people, one reason or another, people have bowed out or not wanted to help each other or something. So, but I know we have a nice, speaking of events, we have a nice naval battle looming tomorrow, which
I was just getting to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let you share that information other than that.
But were you a part of the last PvP event for Lyneth?
I helped set up a little bit of it, if I remember, but I did not get to participate in that one because I was busy that weekend with some work.
Gotcha. Do you happen to know if there were prizes at all, where the prizes came from?
I think they just came from people. Like, I mean, that's essentially how it has to work for now.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I know for the naval, like coming up, they're doing something similar. I think where the people are helping to do it, but like either buy-ins or from the actual teams participating,
Okay.
or somebody just literally giving people free stuff is really the only way currently it'll work. It would be nice if we could get like a development person to participate. I mean, I know on one of the tournaments we had that we were planning, we had Roshan, and I think even one of the others GMs was in there, and they were talking about like helping with something like that too. So that really could have been even cooler if we could start getting that incorporated, where the GMs are watching or Steven's watching and he's having fun, he's giving out mounts or things like that. Obviously,
Yeah.
a purely PvP oriented game type or instance combat would be really cool too, but that's something probably light years in the future. Right now they're still working on building the world, so I get it.
Right. Absolutely. I'm bringing that up mainly because apparently EU has also been trying to do a attorney, as they call it, and they had reached out according to OP. Some kind of leaf is the name of the OP. And Maggie actually ended up responding and saying, please DM me on Discord. So it's very possible that if you are a part of your server and you're looking forward to putting out like a big event, like a PvP event, etc., then perhaps you can reach out to Roshan, Vaknar.
Vac and Roshan are very big into that stuff. If you reach to them, they'll usually respond.
Yeah. And also I've definitely seen, I mean, Steven had joined us. Vertek, you were there with me when Steven was responding to the massive thank you for the caravan event that we did. And then he was there for the PvP tournaments, etc. But I think honestly, it's really nice to see the community come together and make their own events, because while it's important to have a community mod or community manager kind of run things like this in the future, at the moment the focus is testing, and it's kind of nice to see. This kind of brings back the age-old saying of it's the community that keeps games alive. Even some of the crappiest games have stayed alive because of the community in them. And this is very true for MMO gamers, I think, especially role players and PvPers alike. If you are inventive enough of ideas of things to do together with a big group of people. I think we saw this in phase 1 Vertek, right, where they're grabbing people to do world bosses.
While phase 1 was up,
Alpha 1
Alpha 1, we were not there for a lot of it, but we heard about a lot of it.
We did raid somebody. That's how we met them. He was organizing something like that. And then there's a hunt for the sandal.
So phase 1, there was definitely a couple of those events that happened. Steven spawned boss monsters like the Ancient One, things like that on towns, and forced the towns to fight them off.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a little more engagement in that aspect. Yeah, but I like I said, I mean, I think a little bit here and there would help for sure, but I can't fault people that are working hard and diligently to give us a game too much.
Right.
For not participating all the day, every day.
But just in case you guys are interested, let's see, what day is this? It looks like Envious. Yeah, Envious is hosting a naval battle royale PvP event on Friday, April 11th. So that's next Friday on Vira at 9 p.m. Eastern. And they're doing a first prize with 100 gold and 2 free caravels. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but cool. And then we have on our own server, Lineth. I can't speak to Litharia. Sorry about that. There is on tomorrow, We have, I think, Fed organized this one, maybe, or AV.
This one is done by Fed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a street post about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At 3 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time, until about 5 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time, there's a naval battle that's happening on Lineth. These are 5v5, 3v3, 2v2, and 1v1. And there's a maximum of 8 players per boat, and they have a variety of objectives and rules. If you're interested, feel free to join our Discord, and I can always direct you to the right places. Also, if you happen to have on you the Lineth Discord, Beej,
Yes.
I think you should be okay to post it. If not, feel free to send it to me. It's for subscribe. If you're a subscriber, like even with like Prime, you should be able to post that.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, and then I can post it. There we go. I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to join the Lineth server, this is the one that is created for people in Lineth. I'm sure Vira has one too. I'm just not sure what that would be.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you know what I like? You know what I like, especially about the one that was posted in Lineth, is that, let's see, make it down to it. Do not destroy a boat unless given permission. So they're legitimately saying, like, don't go just killing the other boats. Like, you win by capturing the boat, not destroying the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like captains can't leave the boat, things like that. I think that's good parameters to force people to fight, but and find ways to like be creative, but not like allowing, like you said, pure destruction to be basically the name of the game.
Yeah. And honestly, I have to say there's a big difference between Lineth's economy and Vira's economy. We've spoken about this a couple of times. We have some friends that came from Vira and they're like, everything here's so cheap. Yeah, well, we don't really have money. I don't know what happened on Lineth, but we don't really have money.
Lineth, so as being part of a lot of behind the scenes look on some of how that got put together, the mayors, we have so Lineth has a mayor thing. I believe Clover runs that. Let me check to be sure, but so she's overlords, she's one of the overlords, big officers, and she runs the server for the mayors, the mayorship, and they go there. We had like a big discussion from there, I think, that decided like how we were going to do things and how we're going to get everything together. And I mean, for the most part, there was a very good kind of work together mentality of getting, stations online, getting the server to good health, things like that. We didn't, I mean, obviously we killed caravans a lot, ate a lot of caravans early in the phase, but still there was still the emphasis on making sure the node health itself stayed perfect. There was a little bit of selfishness between some nodes, but most everybody eventually agreed to finding like a path to make sure that we had all the tools and the necessary equipment to get all the level 3, tier 3, basically gatherable stuff up and running, short of a few nodes because we needed more nodes to get some of the other stuff going.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, I'm not sure what happened on Vira on that. I know there was a lot of issues. Like, I know, so this is a little hearsay because I didn't like necessarily confirm this, but I heard somebody set up their node to create the tools for a station and then destroyed it within a couple hours, and they had all their guildmates run over and get all the tools, and then they destroyed the station.
That was on Vira.
Yeah. So I mean, like that is toxic server issues that need to be addressed. Like, okay, let's not like it doesn't benefit us or the game to do things like that. Just help out, leave it up. Just get to the end game, and then everybody can PvP and do whatever they want to each other.
Right.
I guess in a way it was some kind of testing just to make sure that everyone knows that that's now a potential thing that could happen.
Don't think I didn't think about that first, though. I actually proposed that idea in one of our alliance meetings at one point in our server, but then I was shot down because it was too toxic. So I was like, yeah, you're probably right. It is a little too toxic to do that.
And to circle back around. Sorry, Fubo, I just saw this. Fubo said, sort of a hard one right now in regards to the CMs. They do not have a massive community team yet, and they have a lot of responsibilities that are necessary that people do not see. So Roshan, Vaknar, and Nyx are very busy people. They really are. And one of those things is they often are dealing with the server update and patch notes constantly, and the server up times and down times, etc.
Yeah.
So
And Thigh Hunter did make a good point. They, with phase 3, the initial prep starting now, probably for that phase 3 launch, they are probably pretty busy over the next couple weeks. So
yeah,
if they're still trying to get it out for the end of this month, beginning of next,
right.
we could definitely see a little less interaction with them the next couple weeks.
But I'm sure they're taking notes at least on what kind of events that we players are putting together naturally on our own, etc. And keeping in mind like how that turnout is, etc. So one other thing I want to touch on is Steven had a stream, and they had the live stream, but for those of us in PTR, there wasn't really a whole lot there that was new to us. They showed off the naval combat for that, and you kind of got to watch as they went back and forth in the canal over by Carfin, and then promptly flew away Captain Hook style at the end.
Yeah, I like that.
But there's not really a whole lot that they gave us in terms of new information. Again, for those of us doing PTR, for those of you on live or not even able to test, that was a plethora of information on how the naval system's working and things like that. There was a lot of really good info. However, the brunt of new info for Vertec and myself, at least, came from Steven's own live stream. And before I get to that, Jamba's asking what events have I done on Lineth, or we have done on Lineth. Vertec and I primarily have partaken in the caravan, the Great Caravan thing. Well, kind of.
Yeah, that's
Great
really the
Caravan
only
Day.
big event that's happened at this point. I think that and the scheduled siege that occurred this past week. I think those are
Which
really
I
the
was
only
too
two
sick to be a part of.
but like community created actual like inviting the server to join up. It's been basically just the Caravan Day. People are calling it was it Care Bear Sunday? What Sunday? Or was it Saturday?
That's what I called it. Care Bear Sunday.
Yeah.
We set up church and a few of the other people set up like kind of a way to make it happen. And he proposed it to us, the Alliance, and then proposed it to me to kind of help spearhead the.
I think we lost you mid.
Oh, good. I thought it was just me.
No, I think we lost you mid sentence there, Beej. But I can continue on there while he's maybe getting back to us.
Oh no,
but
his power went out.
Oh gosh. Uh-oh. Okay, so we will likely not be getting a Beej back in any super near point of time.
But they did have a PvP event. I was not a part of that. And then they're having the naval event tomorrow for Lineth.
Yeah, the Care Bear Sunday was the caravan thing. And let me adjust your video here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that was gonna cause a problem.
Yeah, definitely will.
But yes, Care Bear Sunday is that when we get to sacrifice all the Care Bear and Shred. It's back. I'll rejoin in a few. Okay, cool. So I'll rejoin in a few. My
goodness, you're much bigger in this video.
The idea was that we were not going to PvP each other's caravans. The point of this was specifically what Beej was hinting at previously, to assist the desert nodes and getting enough gold into the node so that they could actually buy like the table for whatever artisan stuff that they were doing, and be able to be productive as a node. So that is
it was a day of one specific route as many caravans as you can run in that amount of time.
Which for Vertec and I was one, maybe.
No, I lost my first one to a bug, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I've been selling my glint ever since then.
Yeah.
I just drop it right off to the merchant.
Just a little too poor for that.
Yeah, I don't have the money to keep losing caravans, so I just sell my glint to the merchant from that point forward.
Yeah. But I have been like in talks with other people. Like we've had some guild events, but it's one of those with the interest of testing being low at the moment. It's sometimes difficult to put together events like this, but it's not for a lack of want. It's for a lack of enough people participating. But I wanted to, okay, I'm not to get too far ahead of him, but the next thing I wanted to bring up is Steven's live stream, where he did mention, I'm going to at least touch on the thing that is Vertec specific here. But Steven had touched on there being tank getting a rework soon. I didn't see anything in the comments for those of you that were live with him. Please let me know what he said, because we weren't unable to be there. But Vertec, what are your thoughts on a tank rework?
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Tank does not feel like tank. And that's why I play tank, is to feel like a tank. So I cannot wait.
If you were to make tank feel like a tank, what would that look like for you in your mind? What would make it feel more like a tank for you? There's so much stuff that could be done, but first off is just putting grit back the way it used to be. Like, there needs to be something inherent with being a tank, even if it's not a skill that's just given to you. I think it should be a skill that's given to you at a certain level that helps a tank just be a tank. Like, that's it. Because aside from that, yeah, mitigation functioning properly, and actually, honestly, a tank should have higher mitigation basically by default, in my opinion, because otherwise, why am I not just playing a fighter? So the skills also need a rework. There's been some good progress forward, but even something like, I was thinking like a really cool skill that would feel like a tank that would also have a little bit more damage output if played properly would be something like retaliation, where you would get a damage boost based on actively mitigated damage incoming to you. So your active blocking, your Aegis protecting friends, your shields, I forget the name of it, when you throw out the banner and you get the big disco ball on the ground. That one, all of that damage, the shielding that ends up getting actually eaten up. That would be fantastic. Like if all that turned into more damage that you can now output, like give people reasons to intercept their healer and prevent them from taking damage. Yeah. Like that type of stuff. Real quick, we have a Beej joining us again, so I'm gonna go ahead and admit him.
And then as soon as he goes to pop in, I will change your video back.
Okay. Just be prepared. Just FYI, if you need to do any covering for naming conventions.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Wait. It's not that one. It's that one. There we go.
Wait, this one. I don't know why I did that.
Sorry about that.
You're back.
All
We're
good,
back.
all good.
Yeah. I've got rolling storms in the south here, so.
Ew. But yeah, Fupo, I mean, I'm certain there's gonna be good changes coming down the pipeline for tank. It's just one of those, like, it directly impacts like the main class that I try to play in every single game ever. So when it gets to a certain state, I'd turn into a crybaby, not gonna lie, because I want to play my tank. I want there to be a reason to be a tank. Class. And when I start to not feel like a tank, I start to get a little bit hurt in the feels because I can't play it. That being said, Bard has been a wonderful band-aid. I am enjoying the bejeebus out of Bard. So
Yes.
there is that.
He immediately pivoted to Bard, and I was like, well, there goes me playing the Bard mainly as a second option. Yeah, I think that there's bound to be a lot of things. And actually, somebody, who was it? It was actually Erwin. So Talents ended up commenting on this, which I can go ahead and share this. So if you didn't make the live stream that Steven had, I've been really appreciating this Jamie 5152 person. He's been making like a synopsis of like what's happening in the streams as like notes. So it's been really nice for people like me or Vertec, you know, when we can't make it to those, but we want to talk about it, to have like a nice little thing to like look over, right?
Yeah.
But basically, Talents responded and said that he learned that Bucky is also going to be the designer for Summoner. So Summoner mains, be prepared, because if you've seen Bard and you've seen Rogue, I can only imagine how well and fully fleshed out Summoner would be. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't usually bring up other content creators like content on here, not because I don't want to, but because I'd asked a long time ago if you guys wanted us to like talk in that fashion, and people were like, maybe not. But
Because everyone does React stuff.
Yeah, it's not so much in a reaction kind of way, but like Vertic and I this morning, we were just chilling in our bed, not doing, like, we're trying to do a lazy Saturday morning thing where we weren't ready to get out of bed, but we were also trying to be like productive, so we're just being productive on our phones. But we were watching Peon actually try out, because for those of you that saw the lazy Peon videos, Steven essentially just boosted up his characters for him to 25 and gave him some gear, which, by the way, from the outside looking in, it is not actually easy to get blue gear at level 20. That's actually a feat. So he had some pretty decent gear, but level 20 blue gear sets, level 25, but his weapons were all level 1 still, and he didn't really know what he was doing outside of mage on his characters. So we were watching him kind of go through the different like classes and try them out and understand how they work. And he particularly remarked that Bard felt the most well designed and fully completed class that he was testing so far. And it was very enjoyable watching him kind of like tootle around on them and try to figure it out. So
yeah, it was fun.
Very well done.
Yeah, well, Erwin ended up commenting to Talents and saying, "Can Bucky do the tank and ranger too, please?" just better yet, just have him look at all of the classes, please. He seems to know what he's doing, and that's not throwing shade at any of the original designs. It's just, it seems like if I were to look at how well a class is designed, I would rank Bard next to Rogue as like pretty well designed.
Yeah. Cleric and mage too. Cleric and mage up there as well. I mean, I think we all know that tank and ranger need an overwork. I know ranger got a small overwork, but I think it could fighter as well. Fighter seems a little kind of lost in the wind right now as well. Could all use kind of some work to their classes and their kits to kind of make them feel a little more fleshed out.
Yeah. But another thing to note, and I'm just putting this out there, so for those of you that don't know, the update that we just had yesterday is update 7.7. Okay. This is important because the upcoming updates, particularly April 10th's update for next Thursday, which is the beginning of the new crafting releases. That is when Turquoise Sea POI will be getting a dressing in that same 0.8 release. So looking at April 10th, I think that's when we're going to start seeing the point of interest stuff kind of filtering in the way that we see it in the desert. And then following that, April 24th is slated to be the 0.9 release. And that is when this is highlighted for us, or like bolded for us. Stat changes to address TTK will be likely coming in 0.9, which is April 24th, ahead of phase 3. But Steven apparently showcased the Kraken and its swimming animations, and he provided, the OP, the poster on Reddit, provided a link with a timestamp. And the Kraken will patrol around the Turquoise Sea as well as other areas nearby. I thought that was really, really cool. My other favorite thing is the update to cargo. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but you know for a fact, if you've been following Ashes for a while, that your cargo is supposed to eventually be able to be used with mules, right? Mm-hmm. So the small cargo can be picked up by characters soon. And then eventually small crates will be transported via mules. Medium crates will be caravans and ships, with large crates only being able to be moved around by merchant ships between harbors. And then additionally, they're trying to work on adding climbable ladders onto the ships, and that the largest boats that they're intending on releasing will be raid sized. Pretty awesome.
That's bananas.
That sounds.
We won't be able to sail
crazy.
in the river like that. The naval combat.
Probably not. I think it would get stuck.
Well, yeah. Will it even fit in the river? Is the question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That'll be definitely an interesting change. I'd love to see like kind of change sizes because of that. I mean, if they could do that with caravans too, that'd be kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
Caravan raid.
I think Vertec was working a lot on caravans in our guild and figuring out their numbers and stuff. And I think it'd be interesting to see, like you said, like a massive caravan run by a guild where you have a bunch of defenders and you just have one caravan transporting all this stuff that is then split. Therefore, you have like a reason to have defenders, and that the solo running of caravans wouldn't be a thing. That would be something I'm interested in too. Because I mean, as somebody who defends pretty much every caravan in our guild that gets attacked in our guild, and somebody who does a lot of the attacking for our guild and other people's caravans, it's I think it would just draw more conflict. I know, but at the same time, it'd be fun. It'd be a lot more fun, just having that avenue where there's like understanding that somebody's going to get paid for their services and things like that. Sort of built into the experience.
Absolutely. Vertec, are you familiar with Arcade airships at all?
No. I mean, I know of existence of some of the arcade features and whatnot, but I'd never played and I've seen very few videos.
How about you, Beej?
Unfortunately, I'm also the same wagon as Vertec. I didn't play that one.
Same, but apparently the scientific metropolis will have airships between them akin to Arcade airships. So for viewers and commenters alike, if you have insight on that, please enlighten us, because I'm curious on what that means. And further down in this comment section, somebody else was like, why is he specifying airships between the scientific nodes? Like, I thought there was teleporting, and it was reiterated or clarified in the comments to that one, was that the airships are for 2 scientific metropolis. The teleportation is within the vassal nodes of the metro.
That makes more sense. So like you would be able to teleport from your main vassal node to the outlying ones, but you would have to airship between 2 different vassal nodes of some sort.
Or 2 different metropolis, So
metropolises,
like, if like Halcyon and Winstead were 2 separate metropolis, you could take an airship between those 2, but it would skip right past the others. I'm imagining the airship like Arcade may have been something like World of Warcraft, where you had to wait for it to come around and you board the airship and then you pause and it toodles around a little bit and then boops over to the other one. But I would imagine that it might almost be like a direct, like as the crow flies between 2 nodes, but you have to sit on that thing the whole time.
Hey, but can you imagine? Because like, okay, let's just put it into this perspective. Let's say a lot of you have already seen the map for the current state of Alpha 2, right? We have the tropics, which is just opened up all the way above Halcyon, right? And then you have your 2 new furthest south desert nodes, right? Let's say the top northwest node in the tropics is the scientific, and the bottommost southeastern node in the desert is the scientific, and they both got Metropolis. And this is just on one massive land. Okay, imagine this being on the other continent as well, right? You could travel from this part of the map all the way up to that part of the map in less time, theoretically, by taking the airship than you would by going via land.
I'm just saying, I want to see somebody work it out to where there's the five Metropolis, right? So you get what, 2 scientific up in like the top left and bottom right, however, of the map. It's on 2 different continents, and you can airship between them, like the farthest distance. And then you get 1 military just so that there can be people that do bounty hunting. 1 religious and 1 economic that are like right in the middle of the map. So everyone can get to it.
I can't
wait till till people use the gliding mounts and they buy like a thing to go across, and they get to where they want, and they can just jump off and glide down to the location they're looking for with their ship.
That's a good point too.
Yeah, I was thinking like the only way to get down would have to be using the gliding mount, unless there's going to be other options later that we don't know about. But
fair.
No,
I mean, and see, that's the thing. It's going to be the balance of what Steven feels is going to be the appropriate amount of quick travel, right? Because in theory, it'd get you across the map faster if you got on the airship and it did exactly like the ones in WoW do when it goes from one continent to another. Is it cruises away for about a good 30 seconds and then it boops and appears next to the other town. Because that will prevent people from literally scouting out the map as they fly over it and like, oh look, there's a caravan, guys, let's jump. Whee!
Yeah, gliding down and killing caravans or
exactly like scoping out and like calling out to people where all the caravans and everything are, where people are doing world bosses, you know. Oh look, there's whatever guild.
I don't think it's gonna work like that though, because there's effectively no loading screens in Ashes.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be
tough. But it could be because with WoW, those blimps, they don't disappear on a loading screen area. They disappear in the middle of the actual map that the player is on.
They have a wall that they
it's like an invisible wall. They hit a point, and it's programmed to just boop right over after that point.
Yeah. I feel like with the way that Intrepid wants like the immersive feel, like everything's live around you, I feel like they would want the airship to not teleport.
I would think that too, but it's going to be tough to code that and not have what Vertec and I said, like people abuse it a little bit. But
yeah,
I mean, unless it's literally you have no, it's in a bubble. You can look out and you can watch stuff, but you can't leave the airship.
Yeah, I don't know. Could do that.
But I think that it's one of those things we'll see. Maybe this week I'll look into trying to figure out what the Arcage airships are all about there. But oh, that's very fair. True, Basil. If they want to teleport, they would just make the portal rings like what we came through came in. That's a good point too. Have that in the sky or something. But I'm just thinking for like immersive reasons. The age old, but my immersion. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Chibi. I know you've been trying to say something for a minute.
It's okay. I just see like you going up to a tower, kind of like World of Warcraft, and getting on this big airship thing, and then it just taking off, and that's kind of like maybe it's the thing that brings you to the nearest like scientific node or something like that. Because I don't know, for me, I'm still in camp Fog of War on my on my map. I would like there to be a fog of war where I don't know where things are naturally. Although I think with all of this testing, I'm going to kind of have an idea. But I don't know. I like that feeling of exploration of I don't know what's over there. So if I just look up in the sky and I see this giant airship and I follow it, it might lead me to a scientific node or another node along the way.
I still think having cartographer as a crafting profession would be amazing.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
And you have to actually travel the map, and you get.
I think having that to go with ships, like you said, would be great.
But I guess even I guess scribes could do that, but having to explore the map, and when you create a map for somebody, you're literally sketching down what you last saw existing in that area at what state it was in, and it fills out the rest of their map for those areas that you create for, like the little zones that you map out. And you could sell maps by just traveling as much of the world map as possible and sell that stuff for a pretty penny.
Like, you could have that like cartography type stuff for ships. If you need to sail between two continents, things like that. Knowing the locations.
I could see cartography being on the skill tree for a scribe.
Yeah, could definitely. Maybe a subclass, because they talked about future crafting to having like the higher you go, you would have sort of like niches that you would basically go into. Mm-hmm. They talked about, okay, this person would go into armor smithing specifically, or this person would go into like emblazoning, or things like that, where it's specific subsets of that crafting profession, and maybe that could be a scribe crafting subset.
Yeah,
something that allows you to create maps and draw out in detail like certain areas so that people can see the POIs and all the information in them.
Yeah, I think it'd be like, I would think it would be fairly straightforward on making it the easiest and most comprehensive, and that would be like when you visit a node's town, or like the center of the node where the little node cork is, you visit that, and that will get you the information for that node accurate as of that day. And then as you visit another one, it would do the same thing, and you could actually have on your world map, when you buy a map from a cartographer, it would tell you when that map was accurate as of 3 months ago. Yeah, I should probably buy a new map for that node or for that region or what have you.
Yeah. And you could have maybe that they could also be the ones that scribe the treasure maps or things like that, because they're so used to the new lands and things,
I forget what it was. There was some game that let you do that, where you would create treasure maps. I forget what it was. It's been so long. But that's basically what a scribe was able to do at some point, is gather materials, make a treasure map for someone else to go complete.
Because we know scribes are going to be super important with just their ability to make the enchanting and power up scrolls and things like that. So, having a subset of, like you said, map makers that do cartography and treasure maps and things like that would be definitely a whole nother branch that they could go down.
Yeah. Nifty stuff.
Yeah.
Ideas, man.
So many great ideas. I can't wait to see like what Intrepid implements, and like I think I'd be curious to see like what pivots they make for community suggestions, and like what are we effectively actually affecting with our thoughts and our feedback, and what are things that they've always planned but never really shared quite yet. I'm always curious about that. But the other thing, going back to sieges, this is why getting sieges down is super important, because on a level 3, level 4 node, that's not really that big of a deal. Level 4 more so than level 3. But when you come to level 5 Metropolis nodes, I believe level 5 is the highest, right? When you get to the Metropolis level, there's only a finite number of Metropolis that you can have in the world of Vera on your server. So if you have, let's say, all of your Metropolis up, and only like the only one that gets repeated, because I think there's enough for there to be 5, right? And there's 4 types. So that means one of them is getting repeated. More than likely. You could potentially repeat 2 of them and miss out completely on one of the node types. Like let's say you just don't, your server doesn't seem to care about divine nodes. Perhaps you double up on 2 of them instead of just 1. But regardless, this is where the siege comes into play, because it's more about the power shift of the world through sieging, especially when it comes to a metropolis. And right now the sieges are very defender heavy, as they should be, in my opinion. I appreciate that they're defender heavy. After all, if you're declaring a siege on somebody, they are potentially losing their entire node. And right now there's no node degradation. Right now that severity isn't there, because they're just trying to get a lot of data. And Vertec, you actually got to partake. Beej, were you a part of the siege testing too for Lineth?
I was not a part of the Lineth siege testing. I mean, we did the PTR ones,
right?
So I've done a lot of sieges already, but
right.
No, I didn't do the Lineth one. I know that was post the Vira incident, where people were they were trying to make sure that there wasn't other ways to cheese the system, basically.
Yeah. And Vertec, you were telling me that you got either you or like Intrepid got a plethora of new information from live that we weren't able to give them on the test.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a fact of life when it comes to, software going from a dev environment to production, is the variety of different things that can happen expands almost exponentially. Mm-hmm. You try to test as much as you possibly can in a dev area, but once you get to production, I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, it could, who knows, it could end up being the way that a specific computer interacts with something that causes a weird response back to the server. Like, it could be something as very specific and odd as that, or it could just be that the massive amount of people that jumped in there instead of what was on the testing area just caused the server to slow down, or who knows. So many other different random predicates and issues that can pop up. So
yeah.
I think one of the things we tested, even with our first siege that happened on Lineth prior to the Vira incident, was that people could guild war on somebody and still participate in, not necessarily in the siege, but could kill the people who were in the siege without really repercussions. So they had more than 100 essentially defenders and stuff, and that was a bit of a thing early, because we participated in the PTR version where they wanted basically people outside of it to try to go in, and then you get kicked or you get killed if you're in the area and you're not participating. But apparently that was not a thing if you were in another event of some sort.
Interesting.
So so there's definitely been a few things that we couldn't test from the original, because obviously they didn't think about that in the original, and there was no guilds to really have a guild deck with. So
because that was very focused testing, where they just made 2 groups to do sieging with. There was no let me make a guild, there was no let me be a mayor and do a node war, none of that. So that's good and important information to know, how it essentially is working in a roundabout way to like limitations of the sieging capability, as well as where some of the other current existing systems can affect, be it positive or negative, the new system. But I do know that Steven ended up reducing or removing the cost of sieges so that they can better facilitate the testing, and that's coming either this week or next week, and that's what he said on his live stream. So I don't know, there's a lot of really cool stuff, and I am avoiding the PvP PvX conversation at the moment, because Vertec and I can get into that conversation so very deeply.
For days.
Yes.
But it does feel like a good portion of the community is kind of in line with how we are feeling, which, for those of you that are not aware of how we feel, PvP, it feels more like primarily PvP in terms of the PvX-ness of the game.
Everything is PvP, but not everything, not much can be only PvE, and those things that can only be PvE are not going to be the greatest things.
Yeah.
The pure balance, and we discussed this earlier in the phase 2, is the pure balance of crafting versus PvE versus PvP and versus PvX involvements. The PvE side has consistently lost out. It seems like everything's like garnering itself towards it's PvE, but it's also PvX. Like you can get attacked, you can do this during it. So yeah, if they're gonna want to keep the more casual PvE gamers that want, the people that don't want to spend 50 hours a week, grinding out stuff to get to, so that way they got the best of the best gear and they can fight. Those people are gonna need more of a safe haven here and there to be able to do things without feeling like they have no content.
Right.
So, and I agree, like instance things would be great. I don't know how far that is down the horizon, but instance dungeons or things like that give out actual like good loot. Because we talked about this too in the phases, like grinding for that level 20 blue gear you talked about, Chibi, just a little bit ago.
Right.
It's almost a waste if you can just grind the crafting gear at level 10 legendary versions or even epic. The majority of that is going to outweigh just the base blue gear right now. So.
And on top of that, the 20% of the dungeons that will be instanced are primarily for story. So we will see how that goes.
I'd really like there to be some type of reward system for the PvE side that doesn't feel overly like, okay, we don't want it to be World of Warcraft-esque where, your PvE is your bread and butter and PvP is totally different. You got to get your own arena points and stuff like that to get PvP items. But at the same time, we don't want PvE to be completely, second. Third,
it's not going to be super sad if they continue with the arenas conversation. That there's going to be arenas for like 3v3 and 5v5. So there's literally going to be an exclusively PvP thing, but then there's not going to be a decently challenging and rewarding PvE or comparably challenging and rewarding PvE component. But we'll see. I mean, there's no telling if maybe like half of that 20% of instance content, maybe they will tune it up so it's actually challenging PvE stuff. Because I know what's out in the world right now is just not. It's just not.
Yeah, so it's not like they have to give us legendaries for doing it, but at least give us something that is on par with some of the crafting stuff you can put out, or at least close to.
I just want titles and pretty gear. I mean, it'd be cool if there was actually like, greens or blue gear that was dropping from it too, to be like something that's on par that you can get just dropping in a current open world dungeon or raid. But it's obviously not going to be near as good as a crafted item that's going to be, heroic, epic, legendary.
And for me, I think I'll be waiting on the sidelines because, I mean, I don't really hate where we are currently, but I also need to go through and test what it feels like to do the actual questing and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's the whole world of questing, which we really haven't gotten much of as of yet. So we still have to see how that pans out.
Yeah.
And the story arcs that we're still waiting to test. So. But all in all, I just want to kind of wrap us up here because we've been going for about 2 hours. For those of you that are newer here, this is actually our first time doing this format. For those of you that have been here before, you're like, wow, they've got a really long time. Well, Vertec and I are kind of happy to announce that while, yes, on the one hand, we are going to be streaming for longer going forward for our podcast. On the other hand, we are actually going to be doing it every other week. And this is intended not to do less content necessarily, but to have better quality content. And I think that having conversations like we had today, where we're actually able to sit here and explore the facet of the conversations without necessarily rushing through to meet a deadline of 1 hour, is just a much more enjoyable experience for you guys as well as for us. And I just happen to be cutting us off at this point because it feels like a good ending to the conversation in general. But Thank you, Beej, for being our guinea pig. I hope that this was enjoyable.
Oh, yeah, it's been great. Thank you guys, everybody, Tavern patrons. Thank you, Chibi Vertec, for having me. If you guys want to reach out to me, find me on Discord. I believe I'm, pretty easy to find me. Just find me on Lineth, community moderator. That's me. If you guys have any questions, concerns, want to just chat, whatever, I'm always approachable. I'm there, and I'm usually around. Chibi and Vertec and I could talk for hours and hours about all things Ashes, but we don't want to. We have a limited amount of time, and I know everybody has a limited amount of patience to listen to all of it.
And limited time is the story of the world.
I guess for a final thing, what is your takeaway for what you feel is the biggest thing that needs to get addressed ahead of phase 3?
I mean, I'm gonna be purely selfish with this. The TTK things, because I love PvP, and if that doesn't get addressed, PvP is just never going to be nearly as rewarding, I feel like. I mean, like Vertex said, like tanks, I kill a tank in less than a second or two with 3 hits as a mage. That's insane.
Yeah.
Things like that. I'm sure you guys probably have a different perspective than me, though, on that thing. So,
Yeah.
That's my one thing.
I would put in probably the changes to tank, because I think that is going to be a major killer of even PvE content that they go to drop in. Because if you don't have enough tanks, then people are going to be trying to struggle. Like, let's get a group of I don't know. Let's try and get 3 clerics and 2 bards to make up the difference, and we'll just try to heal one of the clerics to play tank or something. Get bards to do misdirect for everybody but that one cleric.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a very awkward experience without a tank. So getting tanks to be able to be tanks was possibly more important than the TTK, but it's going to help the TTK for at least the tank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's gonna. I think between the TTK and the I laughable. I think between the TTK and the tank changes, we're going to see a big difference in PvP. And while I myself am not super great at PvP, the one thing that I am looking forward to is the crafting changes. And oh no, I didn't get to cancel the ad break fast enough.
Oh no.
Are we in an ad break right now?
Yeah, we are for the next minute.
We can chill for a minute, yeah.
How's it going, Laughable? That's an intro. That's definitely an intro you got there.
Well, I don't know, Chibi. Is this about how I sound in that real life place? I think I had you tune it for me, or I tuned it while you told me what to go.
Yeah, you sound very natural to me. Like, you don't sound bassy at all to me.
So that's just my voice.
This is Vertec.
Yeah. This is Vertec. This is what I sound like. Hello.
But by the way, just as a heads up, we got 45 seconds before the ad break ends. We're gonna raid over to It's Chili. They are actually also on Lineth, and they have a fighter tank at max level and a rogue and bard at level at least 20. So they have a variety of options that you could probably ask them about. So we're gonna go right over to them. They seem nice. I've heard a lot about them, and so yeah, I don't know.
Yep, Chili's popped over here and contributed to our little chat while we've been streaming before too, a couple times now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about time we drop off some friends.
Looking forward to raid because we like to share the love. But now that we are back, my answer to what I'm most looking forward to before phase 3 is I am so very much into doing crafting and gathering and things like that, as well as PvE. That's my bread and butter. I think in a world where Ashes, that sounded like the beginning of one of those like voiceovers, in a world in a world where Ashes might be PvP heavy, if I were to still play Ashes, even if I don't enjoy it for PvE, I'd probably be being that like getting on to do like crafting type of person. Like very much cozy gamer core. So in a tavern, yes, yes, we will definitely have to have our tavern
Cozy
because then I have to
core.
shout
It's the first
from
time I've heard that, but that needs to be a thing now.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel like I'm cozy core. I feel like that I meet that definition. I'm over here playing like Inzoi, and I like Animal Crossing, and I like making decorating interiors and tavern things like Sims. So
There
you
you
know,
I'm just
cozy
imagining
core.
somebody like I have an image of somebody over in a corner, face down in a pile of plushies with their hands up with like the rock horns, and like the I don't know, Animal Crossing music is playing. Cozy
Oh my
core,
gosh.
totally.
There you
Cozy
go.
core.
Just
There you
like a dog laying across the lap, you know, just
Mhm.
sleeping, or a cat, you know, depending on your preference.
But yeah, all in all, I really enjoy just the crafting and the crafting system. So I disagree. Going back to earlier, I disagree that the crafting is overly complex. I actually like how intricate and well entangled the crafting system is. And with the creation of the what did I call that again? The
Deconstruction.
deconstruction, thank you. With the addition of deconstruction kits, it even further mixed in like 4 different artisan classes just to make the deconstruction kits. So yeah, if we can allow people to decorate our places, I'll hire you. Yeah, right, Basil. That banjo kazooie music that plays when you use the golden feather would be so legit in Y'all's Tavern. Yeah, remixed, of course, to give it a slower, chill tavern vibe. Nice. I like it.
I love Ashes to do a Sims type thing too for the freeholds and stuff.
Oh yeah, actually, next time Vertec is gone, I think I'm going to be doing a very much Sims-esque type of stream for Mead Quest on Monday. So,
ooh, there you go.
I'm not going to share what yet, but just keep that in mind. But with that being said, I have delayed us and rambled on until Chili came back from an ad break, so we can raid over without any ads on either stream.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, Beej, do you have any last words? Do you have any final words?
Join Nexus Phase 3. If you don't, you're mean. Appreciate you guys. Loved having you here. If you guys want to talk again, like I said, just reach out. Have a good night.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. And thank you everybody for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thanks for hanging out with us and being a friend. You do not get time back. You do not get change when you spend it anywhere. So we hope you feel it's been worthwhile. Cheers to you. Thank you so much.
And if you like this kind of stuff, please feel free to comment with us. We love interacting with you guys in the comments, and I love seeing what you guys think. So thank you for hanging out with us this long.
All right, everybody, take care. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.